This video sponsored by Apogee.com. Apogee.com proposes apparels with great motivational quotes. Link in the description box. No sooner had France capitulated to Germany in World War II and the occupation of the country had barely began that the French started denouncing each other to their new lords, the Nazis. The German occupation forces of France, with the efficiency that characterized them, documented the reception of 6.7 million letters of denunciations. Most of these letters were anonymous. But some were signed by their authors. This number represents the denunciation letters received only by the German occupation forces. This act of treacherously denouncing each other equally happened massively in the collaborating area known as Vichy France. Historians put the number of denunciation letters received by the Nazi authorities in France and the Vichy government to slightly above 9 million letters. Who were the denouncers? They were everyday French of all walks of life, both in the cities and in the countryside. All categories or stratums of the French population were involved in this act of denunciation. From the upper-class professionals to the middle and lower classes between the ages of 20 to 80 years old. The entire country turned into a madhouse. As historians put it, the French denounced each other with frenzy. Everybody suspected everyone of being a denouncer or a potential one. The French learned to keep quiet and not say much or not say certain things. And when they spoke, most carefully chose their words even among friends or in the family circle. It was tragic. As a French historian said, individual willingness to resort to denunciations created an atmosphere in which officials noted that few people dared to talk. Everyone tended to see his or her neighbor as a possible denouncer. Who were the victims? Everyday French from all walks of life too. The majority of the victims of these rampant denunciations were innocent French people. Followed by the Jews. Next were the resistance, who are secretly fighting the German forces in France. And finally, the French communists. Most of the French resistance denounced by their fellow citizens were first tortured to extract potentially useful information. Then they were killed by firing squad or in the torture room. All the Jews denounced by the French were deported to concentration camps. The overzealous French police helped more than was required of them. Antisemitism ran high in the then French police force, and one has to say it, in the general French population too. According to the historian Robert Paxton, the French police were more efficient than the Gestapo in arresting Jews. Simone Weil, a French politician and Holocaust survivor, said about the tragedy of denunciations in France during the World War II. That the French were more afraid of their neighbors than of the Germans. Of the 80,000 Jews denounced by the French to the authorities, 90% never came back alive from the concentration camps. French communists, victims of denunciations, were sent to labor camps in Germany or on the Eastern European front. Many died, but many returned after the war. In France back then, neighbors denounced each other. Co-workers denounced each other at the slightest occasion. Teachers denounced students and students denounced teachers. Friends backstabbed each other. Matrimonial cheaters denounced those they wanted out of the way. Business partners denounced each other. People who coveted other people's properties denounced the owners. Even within families, denunciations were common. Husbands denounced wives, wives denounced husbands, mothers denounced children, and children denounced parents. These mutual denunciations were motivated by petty reasons such as envy, greed, vengeance, petty jealousy, petty grievances, personal antipathy or hatred, wickedness, etc. At best, most of these denunciations were whimsical. This situation was akin to China during the Cultural Revolution or Russia under Stalin. Initially, the Vichy government tended to tolerate this French habit of denouncing each other. It had hoped to get useful information for security reasons. Unfortunately, this got out of control. Denunciation for the sake of it became a mean national pastime. The government tried to limit this. In vain. The genie was out of the bottle. As early as 1942, the then Minister of the Interior, Pierre Pouchou, sent a circular to all the prefects of the Free Zone of France regarding the mounting anonymous letters and slanderous denunciations of the French people by their fellow French compatriots. Citing the staggering number of false denunciations that created an atmosphere of suspicion and malaise in France, he enjoined the prefects to employ strong measures to limit this terrible character of the French people. This had zero effect. The victims of these acts of denunciations paid heavy prices. Arrest, detention, torture, death, firing squads, broken bodies and minds, lifelong trauma, jail, deportation, hard labor, and for the Jews concentration camps and gas chambers, etc. In one of his historical essays, the French historian, Henri Amoureix, revealed the tragic case of a French father who secretly denounced the Jewish fiancée of his son. She was consequently deported and died in a detention camp. In the last weeks of the war, the son set out to look for his deported fiancée only to get caught by a group of German soldiers who gunned him down after finding out he was a former resistant. There were cases of French mothers denouncing their sons for refusing to go back to Germany as laborers after they had come back home on a break. These young men were sent to Germany by the Vichy government. France was the only European country that willingly sent its children as forced laborers to Germany during World War II. A special decree was even promulgated for this. It should be noted that France is also the only country where these shameful acts of mutual denunciations reached such an epic level. In other European countries, it was nothing serious. Here's the kicker: denunciations in France did not only happen via letters, be they anonymous or signed. There were actually more oral denunciations than with letters. Historians are categorical on this. This gives you the frightening magnitude of the tragedy. So, let's do a little logical math here. If there were more oral denunciations than the 9 million letters of denunciations received by the Nazis and the Vichy government in France, then we are looking at a total of 19 to 20 million denunciations at the very least. That would be about 5 million denunciations per year, or about 415,000 per month. Daily, that would be some 14,000 denunciations per day every day without exception for 4 years. Truth is, millions of French citizens, one way or the other, collaborated with the Nazis in France during World War II. The French government did, and French citizens in their millions also did. There's a joke in France that says, "During the occupation of France, the resistance seriously lacked volunteers, but at the end of the war, every French claimed to have been a resistant." Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumb up, share, subscribe for more such videos. And press the notification button.